Tell someone they can't have something, and watch how badly they suddenly want it. That's not weakness. That's your brain fighting back. And someone out there is using it against you right now.
There's a force inside your mind that activates the exact second someone tries to control you. It operates completely in the shadows. It doesn't matter if you think of yourself as a highly logical, rational, or level-headed person. The moment an external force says, you can't do this or you can't have this, something deep within your primal architecture just whispers, watch me. This is the invisible trap. It's the illusion that your resulting desires are entirely your own. They aren't. They're a reaction.
Psychologists actually have a formal name for this quiet, pervasive mechanism. They call it psychological reactance. It's the mind's innate, rebellious response triggered the very moment its freedom of choice is threatened. We aren't talking about a personality flaw or some behavioral quirk reserved for teenagers. We're talking about a fundamental biological reflex. And once you truly understand the architecture of psychological reactance, it's going to permanently alter how you view the world. You'll never see manipulation, marketing, relationships, or authority figures the exact same way again, because you're finally going to see the strings.
Humans have been trapped in this cycle for centuries, acting out scripts written by their own defiance without even realizing it. But it wasn't until 1966 that this phenomenon was finally isolated. Psychologist Jack Brehm introduced a concept that perfectly explained the irrational ways we react to restriction. Brehm discovered that when your freedom, whether it's real or just perceived, gets threatened, your mind doesn't just sit back and quietly accept it. It rebels, violently. And here's the most unsettling part. It doesn't matter if the restriction makes perfect logical sense. It doesn't matter if the person setting the limit has the absolute best intentions. Your brain bypasses logic completely and registers the restriction as an existential threat. To understand why this happens, you have to look at how your brain maps your reality. You carry an internal, largely unconscious mental map of your freedoms. These are the things you implicitly believe you're allowed to do, to choose, and to feel. Every day, you navigate the world assuming these invisible permissions are yours by right. But the moment an artificial boundary is drawn across that map, the moment someone points to a territory and says, you cannot go here, that map is threatened, and the psychological consequence is severe. The restriction artificially inflates the value of whatever is restricted. Think about that for a second. The thing you want most right now, is it actually what you want? Or did someone, somewhere, just tell you that you couldn't have it?
Let's move into part 1, the neuroscience of defiance. Because this is really about your biology over your personality. Look beneath the psychology, into the cold machinery of the brain itself. Here is exactly what's happening inside your skull. The moment something threatens your mental map of freedoms, your brain doesn't just register discomfort. It releases a massive surge of motivational energy. Neuroscience links this directly to your threat response system. It's the exact same neurological circuitry that activates when you're physically cornered by a predator in a dark alley. The amygdala fires, the fight or flight response engages. Except here, there is no physical predator. The danger is to your autonomy. Your brain converts the feeling of being cornered into immense, driving energy. This biological mechanism is exactly why forbidden things feel so intensely exciting. It's the drive of survival, misplaced into defiance.
This neurological reality leads us to a deeply chilling conclusion about human nature. Restriction does not reduce desire. It dramatically, predictably amplifies it. This is why telling someone not to listen to a specific song guarantees it becomes an obsession. Consider one of the most famous studies on this. When groups of people were told that a certain book had been banned from their local area, the demand to read it didn't drop, it tripled. The authorities tried to extinguish an idea by locking it away, but instead they weaponized it. A padlock doesn't keep the mind out. It acts as a beacon, ensuring the mind will do nothing else but try to break in.
Which brings us to part 2, weaponizing your own desire, how reactance is exploited. Here is where this reality gets particularly dark. Once you understand the mechanics of psychological reactance, you realize a quiet truth about the modern world. This biological mechanism is not a secret, it's a tool, and it's routinely exploited by those who know how to pull the strings of your own desire. Just look at the marketing world. Limited time offer, only 3 items left in stock. Deal expires at midnight. You see these phrases every single day. Most people think they're just warnings. They aren't. They're triggers, carefully designed like a coiled spring. Marketers engineer an artificial feeling of scarcity. They intentionally threaten your freedom to buy something on your own timeline. They know that if they tell you the choice is being taken away, your brain's threat response system will activate. You'll feel a sudden, irrational urge to secure the item. Your brain fights back against the restriction by executing an immediate purchasing reflex. You think you're getting a deal. In reality, your reactance was just monetized.
This exploitation extends deep into romantic relationships too. Have you ever noticed how someone suddenly becomes intensely more attractive the exact moment they pull away? Or how a partner who is easy to get, predictable, and always available only becomes overwhelmingly appealing after they start showing disinterest? That intense feeling in your chest is not love. That's reactance. Someone is either unconsciously or calculatingly restricting their availability to you. And your brain, functioning purely on its primal circuitry, interprets that withdrawal as scarcity. It falsely masquerades that engineered scarcity as high value and therefore high attraction. You aren't chasing them, you're chasing the freedom they just took away.
And then we have the architecture of social media and the modern outrage economy. The algorithms that dictate your feed understand psychological reactance perfectly. The platforms know that if you encounter an idea that feels suppressed, heavily censored, or marked as something they don't want you to see, you won't scroll past it, you'll stop, you'll engage, you'll argue, share, and obsess over it. These systems deliberately manufacture feelings of restriction and censorship. By placing a digital pane of glass over certain content, they trigger your mind to break it. They harvest your biological rebellion, converting your outrage into measurable, profitable engagement.
Finally, we see this force perfectly illustrated in our relationship with authority. Every strict rule, every mandate, every law that doesn't come with a clear, logical explanation inevitably breeds fierce defiance. Whether it's parents, academic institutions, or sweeping government policies, the authorities that rely on the phrase "because I said so" are the ones who create the most broken chains. This isn't because humans are inherently irrational or chaotic. It's because the brain processes unexplained, arbitrary control as a direct theft of freedom. When the mind can't logically map why a restriction exists, its only available response is to shatter it entirely.
This leads into part 3, the Boomerang Effect, the science of resistance and reversal. This brings us to the inevitable consequence of pushed boundaries. When psychological reactance is pushed to its breaking point, it doesn't just resist, it reverses. The Boomerang Effect outlines a simple, brutal reality of human interaction. When persuasion is too forceful, too direct, or too aggressively obvious, it completely fails to create compliance. In fact, it achieves the exact opposite. When you push a mind too hard, it doesn't bend. It stubbornly, immovably locks itself in the opposite direction. You've likely experienced this. A friend or colleague pushes too aggressively to get you to change your worldview. You might have started the conversation completely open-minded, but by the time they're finished preaching at you, you leave infinitely more entrenched in your original beliefs than before they spoke. The harder the push, the fiercer the defiance.
The boomerang comes back infinitely harder than it was thrown. This reversal of compliance is everywhere once you know to look for it. It's why overly aggressive public health ads so often backfire, causing people to lean right into the dangerous behavior. It's why issuing a strict ultimatum in a romantic relationship almost never saves it. Instead, it violently accelerates the breakup. It's the reason why the more desperately someone tries to prove they're honest, and the harder they try to win your trust, the more profoundly suspicious of them you become. The mind detects the forced compliance, sweeps the pieces off the board, and fundamentally refuses to play the game.
Now for part 4, protecting your freedom. How to reclaim your mental agency.
If your biology is hardwired to react this way, and if the world is meticulously designed to exploit that reaction, how do you survive it? Here is the calculated solution to reclaiming your mental agency. The first step is to forcefully insert a pause between the stimulus and your response. You have to learn to name the mechanism the moment it activates. The instant you feel a sudden, intense, almost burning desire for something that you didn't even care about 5 minutes ago, stop, freeze the moment, and ask yourself this single powerful question. Was I just told I couldn't have this? That one question is the antidote. It brings the unconscious reflex into the harsh light of conscious thought, and in doing so, it instantly breaks the spell of manufactured desire.
Once you've paused, you have to become an analyst of your own life. Trace the restriction back to its origin. Look coldly at the situation. Is the scarcity of this product actually real, or is it heavily manufactured by a marketing team to force my hand? Is the authority figure demanding my compliance legitimate, or are they just performative, using power to mask their own insecurity? Is the sudden withdrawal of this romantic partner genuine distance, or is it a calculated game designed to make me chase them? Reactance thrives in the dark.
It completely loses its power over you the moment you can clearly see the mechanical levers being pulled.
Ultimately, you must protect your freedom through cold, conscious awareness, not through blind, chaotic rebellion. Understand this warning clearly. Psychological reactance will very often convince you to act directly against your own best interests, simply for the intoxicating feeling of being free. It's the voice that makes you eat the thing you know you shouldn't. It makes you pursue the toxic person you know will destroy you. It makes you arrogantly reject the exact advice that would fundamentally save your life. That isn't freedom. That's just another form of control. True freedom does not look like reflexive defiance. True freedom is the quiet, heavy burden of choosing your actions consciously.
The most powerful cage isn't one built with walls. It's one built with restrictions you didn't notice, placed so precisely that your own desire for freedom keeps you inside. Someone tells you that you can't have something, and suddenly you can't stop thinking about it. That's not you choosing, that's you being moved. The moment you recognize psychological reactance in advertising, in relationships, in politics, in yourself, you reclaim something most people never even realize they've lost: the ability to actually want what you actually want. If this made you see something differently, sit with it. The mind that questions its own reactions is the hardest one to manipulate.